The desert sun didn't just burn, it mocked, scorching the earth like a judge passing sentence. In the middle of nowhere, a military convoy sat defiled, its steel skin smeared with neon-pink Karen flowers, gaudy, insulting, and screaming for attention. The perpetrators, a ragtag crew calling themselves the Desert Bloom activists, thought their stunt would go viral, a bold middle finger to militarism. They didn't expect the veterans waiting in the wings, their blood boiling hotter than the asphalt beneath their boots. This wasn't just vandalism, it was a declaration of war, and the response would be swift, legal, and merciless. The convoy belonged to the 47th Brigade, a unit of grizzled veterans who'd seen action in places most only read about in headlines. They were en route to a memorial ceremony honoring fallen comrades when the activists struck. Led by Cassandra, Cass, Whitaker, a self-proclaimed community esthetician with a TikTok following and a vendetta against ugly war machines, the group had crept out at dawn. Armed with spray paint and righteousness, they transformed the convoy's drab camouflage into a mockery of floral chaos. Karen flowers, those over-the-top, kitschy blooms synonymous with suburban entitlement, now adorned tanks and Humvees, a garish protest against the military's presence on their land. Cass posted the video online, captioned, "Make war pretty or make it leave." It racked up 1 million views in hours. By noon, the veterans had seen enough. Sergeant Major Marcus Tate, a 52-year-old with a scar across his jaw and a stare that could crack granite, stood before the defaced convoy. His unit wasn't just insulted, they were gut-punched. Those vehicles weren't just machines, they carried the ghosts of brothers and sisters lost to IEDs and ambushes. To Marcus, the paint wasn't art, it was desecration. He rallied his comrades, not for fists or guns, but for something sharper, the law. "They want a show," he growled to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Rosa Mendez. "We'll give them a courtroom drama they'll never forget." The activists, meanwhile, were basking in their stunt's glow. Cass, with her platinum hair and thrift store beret, led her group of 6 in a celebratory live stream from their campsite. They called themselves artists, rebels against a system they claimed glorified violence. "We're reclaiming beauty," Cass declared, waving a spray can like a scepter. Her followers, mostly urban transplants who'd moved to the desert for authenticity, cheered her on. They didn't know the veterans were already mobilizing, contacting lawyers, and digging up statutes on vandalism, property damage, and even hate crimes. The activists thought they'd won a culture war, they hadn't realized they'd stepped into a legal minefield. The tension erupted 2 days later at a public meeting in the dusty town hall of Red Rock, a speck of a place where the convoy had been parked. The room was a pressure cooker. Veterans in faded caps and worn boots packed one side, their faces etched with fury and grief. Across the aisle sat the activists, some smirking, others fidgeting as the reality of consequences sank in. Cass stood at a podium, unapologetic. "We're artists, not criminals," she said, her voice trembling only slightly. "Those vehicles are symbols of oppression. We gave them color, life." A veteran in the back shouted, "You painted over my brother's memory." The room exploded, yells, curses, and the mayor's gavel banging like a gunshot. Marcus took the floor next, his voice low but slicing like a blade. "You think this is a game? Those symbols carried men and women who died for your right to hold that spray can. You didn't just paint metal, you spat on their graves." He held up photos of the convoy before and after, the flowers glaring like open wounds. The crowd's mood shifted, even some of Cass's supporters looked uneasy. Rosa, a former JAG officer, followed, laying out the legal case: federal property damage, potential felony charges, and restitution that could bankrupt the group. "You wanted attention," she said, staring straight at Cass. "Now you've got it." The activists weren't defenseless, though. Cass had hired a slick lawyer from the city, Ethan Carver, who spun their actions as free speech. This was protest art, he argued, citing cases of graffiti as expression. No one was hurt. No shots were fired. Just paint. He painted the veterans as overreacting, clinging to outdated notions of honor. The argument held water with some social media buzzed with hashtags like art not vandalism, but it only enraged the veterans further. To them, this wasn't about free speech, it was about respect, or the lack of it. As the legal battle loomed, the community fractured. Red Rock, already a place of thin margins and hard lives, became a microcosm of national divides. Locals who'd once nodded politely at the activists now glared. The diner refused Cass's group service. A veteran's daughter, 16-year-old Mia, started a petition to ban the activists from town, gathering thousands of signatures. Cass, undeterred, doubled down, posting videos accusing the veterans of toxic patriotism. Her followers sent death threats to Marcus and Rosa, who in turn received letters of support from veterans nationwide. The conflict wasn't just local anymore, it was a powder keg, and the fuse was lit. The trial came fast, a federal case expedited by the Convoy's military status. The courtroom was packed, with cameras outside broadcasting every move. Cass took the stand, her defiance crumbling under cross-examination. Rosa, relentless, asked, "Did you know the lead vehicle was dedicated to Private First Class Elena Cruz, killed in action last year?" Cass stammered, unaware. The room felt the weight of that name, a 22-year-old who'd never see her daughter grow up. Marcus, testifying later, didn't raise his voice but didn't need to. "Every scratch on those vehicles tells a story," he said. "You didn't just paint over metal. You erased us." The verdict was a gut punch. The activists were found guilty of vandalism and ordered to pay $1.2 million in damages, a sum that shattered their collective. Cass's followers abandoned her, their revolution reduced to a hashtag no one used. The veterans won, but it felt hollow. The convoy was repainted, the flowers gone, but the scars remained. Marcus stood by the vehicles the day they were restored, his hand on the cold steel. This wasn't about money, he told Rosa. It was about making them see. She nodded, but her eyes were distant. They'd won the law, but the divide between those who served and those who judged felt wider than ever. Cass left Red Rock, her dreams of viral fame in tatters. She posted one last video, tearful, claiming she'd been misunderstood. It got 47 views. The veterans returned to their lives, but the memorial ceremony they'd been heading to was never rescheduled. Some wounds don't heal with a gavel. The town, too, stayed fractured, neighbors eyeing each other with suspicion, the desert sun still mocking them all. What do you think, who was right, the activists with their paint or the veterans with their law? Can art ever justify desecration, or is honor worth more than expression?